this land is a blessed land. Tanah Kampung Baru adalah tanah yang dianugerahkan oleh Sultan Selangor. And probably, we don't know, if you have a bad intention on doing something which is, there's a question mark or something like that, you should look again.
Kampung Baru, a Malay traditional village within the heart of Kuala Lumpur, is just 700 meters away from the world's tallest twin skyscrapers, the majestic Petronas Twin Towers. Kampung Baru owes its rural vibe to the traditional Malay wooden stilt houses. Edged by jasmine, hibiscus, banana and rambutan trees, roosters and ducks wander the narrow lanes. Meet Fuad Fahmy, a fourth-generation Kampung Baru resident whose great-grandfather was the first imam at Masjid Kampung Baru in 1907. Fuad's great-grandfather was then awarded a piece of land in Kampung Baru Atas B, which they have been living on since 1927, making it their family home to this very day, for almost 100 years. The vibes, culture and lifestyle shadows Fuad Fahmy as he takes us down memory lane in a special series in conjunction with the 50th Golden Jubilee year of Kuala Lumpur, since becoming the first settlement in Malaysia to be granted city status on February 1st, 1972.
I'm the fourth generation of Kampung Baru. My great-grandfather, I should say, he came to KL, or he was asked to come to KL to be the first imam at the Masjid Kampung Baru. That was in 1907, if I'm not mistaken, as told by my late grandfather. So he used to study religious Islamic religious studies in Mecca back then. So when he came back to Medan, we are actually from Medan. We are from the Rawa descendant, which hails actually from West Sumatra. And then we were living in Medan at that time, and he was a religious officer to the Sultan Langkat at that time, when KL was developing. He was asked to come here to be the first imam here in Kampung Baru. And when he was the imam, we were given this piece of land. And the land we are staying now since 1927. It is almost 100 years old.
Fuad, a native, born in the last Malay enclave of central Kuala Lumpur, with the Petronas Twin Towers forming a spectacular backdrop, reminisces on his childhood playground. Before his picturesque kampung setting turned into a concrete jungle.
Well, I was born in 1973, so you imagine that time KL was still green and fresh, not like today. During 80s, or during my early childhood years, it was still a kampung. You don't see, big paved roads. There was only like a road which can fit 2 cars. There used to be a big lawn at my neighbor back then. So we used to play footballs. And when we were small, it was quite okay. When we reached like standard 2 or standard 3, those glasses started to break because the goal post was, we call it ampai kain, where you hang your clothes. There was like a disc pole, and then there is just a wire. So that becomes the goal post. And that goal post is just by the side of my, my mom's window. So when we were we were like 10 or 11 years old, we kicked, the ball very hard, and boom. And you will hear what? That was quite common, back then. It was quite common. So it's like, oh, okay, sorry, Ma. Every time we come back, usually by Maghrib or by sunset prayers, if everything is like muddy or stuff, well, sometimes the cane will wait for you at the front door. Or even worse, if you come back after the Maghrib prayers. But it was kind of fun to have this kind of experience where my children, they don't experience this. They are probably because time and probably because of the environment. So yep, during my growing up years, to me it was a real kampung.
Nevertheless, even though development is somewhat necessary, Fuad believes Kampung Baru is in desperate need of preservation. Fuad decided to take matters into his own hands by becoming a walking tour host since 2016, dubbing it the magical Kampung Baru Walk.
Well, Kampung Baru is unique in a sense of we are the last Malay kampung. I come from a tourism background. I studied in ITM, I studied tourism. So when I graduated in 93, I worked in a company that does a lot of outbound travel. So from there, I can see Malaysia from outside. And at that time, the trend was, there is a standard itinerary or standard program, 4 days, 3 days, etc. It's like, okay, everything is, being planned for you. So fast forward, now, as we speak, the trend has changed. People don't want to have like a big travel group. Everything which is very regulated, everything is in the itinerary. Now they seek for a real local life, where where Kampung Baru offer this. So what I do is every time I have my walk, I will take to those places. Kampung Baru folks who makes, example, like cookies, mostly food stuff satay, a nasi lemak place, and so forth. We used to have a lot of craft shops, but now, I don't see it anymore in Kampung Baru. So mostly I take them to the eateries, and this is where when I give a price to my travelers or to my client, I cost all this in order that, one is I don't shortchange the tourists or the travelers, and then I make sure that those places that I stop or I take them to experience our local gastronomy, these monies go straight to them.
During his 3-hour walks, Fuad provides an extraordinary experience for the visitors, experiencing a slice of serene rustic Malay life, right in the center of a modern metropolis, as he gently explains the fascinating history of his neighborhood.
Okay, I always start my walk at 5 p.m. because that is where you see life in Kampung Baru. On a good day, when the sun reflects to the tower, where there's a magical moment, you can see a very, Kampung Baru background with the Twin Tower. The view is just awesome. So that's why I call this walk, with all this with what you experience on food, local life, visiting a Malay home, and sometimes the travelers, if they are well dressed, I take them into the mosque. They see how we pray. So to me, these are all, it's just pure magical. You don't find this, even you can see chickens, ayam, with the background of the Twin Tower. You can't see this in other parts of Kuala Lumpur. And I feel that if you ask me, I think these are the things that we should be sharing to the travelers, for them to know what a Malay living in a city is all about.
When COVID-19 struck, in the blink of an eye, magical Kampung Baru was put on hold. However, little did he know it was a blessing in disguise. Fuad managed to come up with an alternative, making the magical Kampung Baru walk come to life online.
A platform, an online platform that I do my experiences. They gave me an idea. Hey, why don't you do a virtual tour? What you are doing physically, you do it online. So I gave a thought and I say, hey, why not? Yeah? So to me, I'm quite lucky because in Kampung Baru, most of the roads are covered by Google Maps. What I did was, okay, I create a product, magical Kampung Baru, but virtual. So some of my friends, they were asking me, can you do it this? Will there people, going on a tour in front of a laptop? I told them, if you don't try, you don't know. So I did exactly my physical walks. I do it on Google Maps. Example, we stop is the Pintasan Saloma or Saloma Link. So from there, okay, I stop and then I run a slide, a few photos, and I explain to them. What I explain to them physically, I do it virtually. The first few times it was quite odd, but after a while I say that I think this is the in trend of tourism now, and even now I still receive inquiries, especially from polytechnics, from learning institution, from secondary school, even from as far as Singapore and Brunei that comes to experience what Kampung Baru is all about. And you know what? After when borders are open, they do intend to visit physically because they've been on virtual, but now they really want to feel it. Nothing beats an actual thing. So, well, I still do virtual tours, and now both.
Although Kampung Baru is seen to symbolize the lifestyle of a typical close-knit Malay Muslim community, the reception of the Kampung folk towards travelers is extremely welcoming.
Most of the Kampung folks, they welcome or they greet these travelers. So that changes the perception of Islam and the Malay race to that extent. So I think that I did a small contribution. I'm not a holy man. A small contribution to the to my religion, to the race, to my race, for the foreigners to know us. And also when they come to the house, they are quite surprised to see that the things that we offer them. We offer them our local kuih. Our local snacks, cakes, coffee and tea is quite common. But one thing they always, to their surprise, they always ask, how come you invite a stranger into your home? So I told them, well, when you come to my home, to our thinking that those visitors, it can be, you bring, we call it barakah, or good vibe, or good karma. And that brings, we believe, brings rezeki to the house. When we eat together, there's a bond that you can't explain. So when they have completed their walk, from strangers, we become friends. And some of the travelers, they come to my home whenever they are in KL, say, Fuad, I'm in KL, are you in town? Yeah. Come over to my place, but I won't charge you this time. We become friends,
Fast forward to 2022, Kuala Lumpur has grown dramatically after development and modernization took over around Kampung Baru, putting it in the shadows of the Petronas Twin Towers.
You mentioned skyscrapers, I don't like that word. When I was growing up, in 1990s, mid-90s, it was all green. There was no concrete jungle. So when the Twin Tower was completed, everything just, it just sprang up like the Malaysia cendawan selepas hujan, mid-90s until now is about what, 95, 2005, 20 odd years, almost 30 years. Buildings are still coming up. I feel that KL, to the extent, is overdeveloped and probably oversupply of these, office spaces or to the extent apartments. But in my case, when I first saw the tower going up, it's like, wow, this is quite cool, man. And then at that time, we were, almost every day we were listening to this song called Wawasan 2020. So we were very geared, and we were like, this will be the new Malaysia, And when the tower was completed, we are so happy. Even we can hear knockings, When they were building the tower, you can hear 24/7 knocking and doing the towers. So it's like, this is something new. We welcome development, but fast forward 2022, more buildings are coming, and probably in 5 or 10 years time, you will see the whole of Kampung Baru becomes a concrete jungle. KL should remain its own identity, not to follow other big cities. What I feel we should do is to restore back what's left of KL. Okay, we have about 20 odd plus old Malay homes. It can be in a rundown condition, good, and half-half, all sorts of condition. Well, what DBKL can do is to zoom in into these houses or these properties, and those houses which has potential to be restored or things like that, restore it. And you can make a trail of Malay architecture, old houses, etc. And here in Kampung Baru or here in Kuala Lumpur, I don't know, maybe you can correct me. We don't have a Malay culture center. Kita tak ada pusat budaya Melayu di Kuala Lumpur. We have Chinatown, we have Little India, but kita tak ada, or we don't have pusat budaya Melayu di Kuala Lumpur. It is in central KL. It is 700 meters from the new KL. So why can't you do this? The Kampung Baru folks, I'm very sure that we are supportive of this program. But again, it needs the willpower of DBKL or Dewan Bandaraya, and to the extent our MP.
While it may be difficult for some to understand the cultural and historical importance of Kampung Baru, Fuad desires for those in power to take a step back from snatching away what is left of Kampung Baru's charms and instead to cherish the heart of heritage that is now an oasis between glass and steel skyscrapers.
For those in power, I think they have been trying to develop Kampung Baru since as long as I can remember, but it didn't materialize. I don't know for what reason, but there are a lot of saying lah, which is orang dulu they were saying that this land is a blessed land. Tanah Kampung Baru adalah tanah yang dianugerahkan oleh Sultan Selangor. Jadi to me it's a blessed land, and probably we don't know if you have a bad intention on doing something, not bad intention, something which is there's a question mark or something like that. If you are not sincere enough in developing Kampung Baru, I feel that you should look again. I always share this with my kids, old photos, letters from my late grandfather. I showed to them, and also my niece and nieces, because I want them to know first is where you are from, and then what value you have, by staying here in Kampung Baru, and if people wants to make fun of you, you know who you are. You know who you are. In Malay we call it, you have this jati diri.